Welcome to the Prep Zone Show. I'm Johnathan Bentley, joined with my co-host, Zach McCullar. Zach, we are actually halfway through the season now. We're on the back, right. the backside.
Yeah, people are 4
to go,
fighting over playoff positions and trying to pad stats and hope that they can put things in position in case of a tiebreaker. The little things that you really have to do at this point in the season.
These tiebreakers are always crazy too.
We had one last year with Winston County, wasn't it? And Corner, both I think came close to tiebreakers at least.
It was that region Corner was in last year was crazy. Came down to the last play of the last region game. Corner went from first to fourth.
Dang.
And Dora went up to first.
Yeah, Corner's getting their revenge.
I don't think that's happening this year. No. I could be wrong. But Haleyville's going to be tough. They have to go there now.
That's true.
Corner still has to go there. That'll be a tough game. Really tough game. So let's jump into last week. It was a interesting slate. Not the best, not the worst, I guess. Some games we got. Oakman beat Fayette County 24-6.
Yeah, that was actually a surprise. I thought Fayette County was going to go out there and win the game, but Oakman really dominated. And that sets Oakman up, third place in that region so far.
Yeah. I think worst case scenario at this point is third.
Right.
They still have Gordo. They still have Winfield, which is back-to-back. Yeah. They have an off week, get everybody healthy.
Right.
And then go face those two teams. And that'll decide everything, really. So everything's out in the open on that region. Dora beat Cordova. I thought this would be closer. It was 40-7.
I didn't think it'd be that much closer. I mean, Dora has a really talented team, and they showed it and absolutely dominated the Blue Devils.
Yeah, they really did. They took care of business. I think they were a little bit angry from losing the Corner. Then they had to sit on that for an off week.
Yeah.
It's kind of like last year. Hopefully Dora gets it going now. Corner, speaking of our only undefeated team, 32-27 over Northside on the road.
Yeah, Northside, I brought this up last week. They're not that great this season, but they were playing for their playoff hopes right there, and they gave Corner a fight. Credit the Yellow Jackets. They're able to pull through for a win.
Yeah, that is really tough. So they've won at Dora and Northside.
Wow.
Two of the front runners usually. They still have some tough games left, but that was a huge win for them, and it really ruined Northside pretty much.
It did.
All right, Lynn, 28-6 over Pickens, another kind of surprise, wasn't it?
I thought that was going to be a good game. I expected Lynn to win, but you go to Reform at Pickens County, and you beat the Tornadoes by 3 touchdowns. That's unheard of.
That doesn't happen.
No, unless you're Gordo.
Yeah, now Gordo, that's a different beast.
Or Fayette County.
But a 1A doing that to them, unheard of. So that's really good for our only other ranked team. Corner and Lynn are only ranked teams, which...
And they're both really, really good.
Yeah, they are. Two of our best teams. At a game you were at for the radio station, Addison 12-0 over Meek. That was kind of surprising too.
It was defensive the entire game. Just 2 big plays for Addison, and one when the game was basically decided late, and they were able to pull off a 12-0 victory and made Meek's potent ground attack look very mundane.
Wow, good game for Jed Wilkins.
It was.
2 touchdowns.
He had such a great game.
Yeah, he's a good player. Winston County blanked Cold Springs, what we expected. Winston County is a really good team in a really tough region.
I agree completely. And, they beat Addison. They beat them 14-0 first week of the season.
That's impressive.
It really
to go
is.
to Addison and win like that. The game I was at, fortunate or unfortunate enough to go to, Hayden beat Jasper 18-13. It's kind of they waited too late to get things going, drove straight down the field twice in the last 5 minutes, and just basically ran out of time. I think that if they had a couple more minutes, they would have won that game.
Yeah, and that was...
It's another tough loss.
That was Jasper's, last really game where you can really visualize them getting a win. And now, you're starting to hear the whispers. Could they go 0-10, or are they going to beat somebody else left on their schedule?
Yeah, that was one I definitely had marked as a win. Haleyville over Curry 61... That actually should be Hamilton because they play Haleyville this week. Over Curry 61-20, and that was close. It was 14-13 at one point, and then it just kind of got out of hand by halftime.
Yeah, they were trading touchdowns back and forth before Curry finally made just one mistake too many, and Hamilton capitalized and rolls on for their first win of the season.
Year. That's right. Yeah, Hamilton needed that, and Curry was coming off a win.
You're right.
I was hoping they could make it 2 in a row. All right, so Gordo over Carbon Hill. Do we need to talk about that one?
It's just mismatch. You have Carbon Hill, who's trying to find their footing so far this season, and then there's Gordo, that's just the most powerful team in 3A, some would say, behind Mars Hill and other teams like that. But mismatch, definitely.
Gordo being Gordo.
Right.
That's all you can say. And Carbon Hill, it's been rough this year
But they've
for
still,
DJ Emerson.
they've still got a chance to win another game or two on the schedule.
I agree. All right, so we talked about being halfway through the season. So, we did a thing before the season started where we picked some predictions, and mine were all wrong. I think yours were, we were all wrong about everything.
Except for Lynn now. We did.
Yeah.
We did
thought
have
they'd
Lynn.
be good.
We thought Lynn would be really good, and we were both right. So we can hang our hat on something.
Yes. Now, so let's reboot halfway through the season, and what is the biggest surprises to you?
Well, two biggest surprises for me are Corner and Meek. Meek, they're still a good team, but they're sitting at 3-3, which I didn't expect at this point in the season. I thought they'd be 5-1 by now, but they've really struggled. And then Corner, undefeated, they've really looked impressive. And it's, I don't want to say a surprise because, we knew Corner was on the way up after a successful 2022, but 2 years ago, this is a team that goes 2-8.
Right.
They have really turned it around, and that is good coaching there by Coach Campbell at Corner.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what would you say about Oakman being 6-1? That's kind of a surprise, right?
It's a bit of a surprise, but that's not as much because they really have that football pedigree down there in Oakman and really well coached and a very talented team.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Hall knew it would be a step back last year, but they're going straight back the other way now. So 1 year dip and back up. I would say, I would agree with you on Meek. I did not see that coming. I thought Dora would maybe be a little bit better record-wise.
Which they still could be. They could still, finish.
They could get their thing. If they go 8-2, that's not bad.
It's better than last season's final record.
And I would say on the other end, I'm surprised Jasper. I thought they would be a playoff team. Now, I knew they didn't have enough. They didn't have a whole lot of players. They didn't have a whole lot of experience. But I saw them beating some of these lesser teams, and they haven't been able to do it.
And, Jasper's also been hurt. Because you look on the schedule, some of these teams that they've played are actually not having bad seasons. Hayden's turned out, they're not really a bad team. And you can look up and down that schedule and find others like
Winona.
Sidney Lanier and Winona, yeah.
Fairfield hasn't been bad. John Carroll, who's coming up, that region has gotten better across the board. All right, so who would be some of your Coach of the Year candidates at this point?
Coach of the Year,
well, name one at the end of the year, but at this point, who would you have in the
mix?
At this
point, I think, Mark Hastings obviously is having a good year so far. Ryan Hall, you mentioned with Oatman, being able to bounce back. But, I think if I were to hand out the award right now, it'd go to Trent Campbell at Corner because they're undefeated. They're the best team in our area, and he's turned them around. It's his first season, and he still hasn't lost a game yet.
Yeah, he came from Hueytown where they're used to winning.
Right.
He brings that to Corner, and I think they're maybe even better than last year.
Oh, yes.
Which is something I did not expect. But I would probably go, and it's tough. I mean, those are the top three, Hastings, Hall, and Campbell. But it's hard for me to go against Hall.
Yeah.
That whole staff is so good, though. If we had a Broyles Award winner,
right,
that would probably come from Oakman.
It would go to Ben Painter, I think.
Yeah. Painter or Trotter, offensive guy. Both of them, excellent. But the defense at Oakman has been next level.
Yeah, holding Fayette County to 6 points. Wow.
They've given up 12 points the last, I think, 4 games. It's incredible. What about players who've jumped out?
Well, Cal Tittle, obviously we knew he was going to have a breakout year.
Yeah, no surprise.
Keyshawn Pryor, we knew he was going to have a breakout year. But how about Brendan Connor out at Corner? And I'm sticking with the Yellow Jackets here. But he's surprised because, before the season, he's not somebody that I would have thought would be in this conversation at this point in the season. So I think he would be a close front runner over Tittle and Pryor.
Wow, that's saying something because Tittle's had an incredible season. What I don't like for Tittle is he gets some of these really, really bad opponents and doesn't get stats against them because the coach, Hastings, is not going to run up the score on anybody.
He's a good coach.
If he was going to run up the score on anybody, Kel Tittle would have.
He'd be throwing 600-700 yards a game.
Incredible stats. And so I guess I'd go with Tittle. That's the obvious choice. Right. But Connor, really good. Scored a ton of touchdowns. Against Dora, he had 2 touchdowns. I think had a hand in all 3. All right, so we'll jump into this week's games. It's kind of another weird set of games. I mean, there's some good, some bad. Mostly bad. Dora at Hamilton. Yeah. Do we see anything crazy?
No, Dora is probably going to wind up winning that one pretty handily. Hamilton's coming off their first win of the season. they're a little bit elated and they're in perfect position for Dora to beat them pretty badly.
Yeah, and Dora, just keep it going like they
Right.
had last week. Just continue that. Cordova lost to Dora, welcomes to Northside. If you look at these records, I mean, Northside's 2-4, but they're actually a pretty good 2-4.
They are. They've had a tough schedule so far, and they gave Corner the fight of their lives last Friday night. I think Northside's going to get back on the winning track. They'll be 3-4, dropping Cordova down to 1-6.
I agree. Even though that's at Cordova, so they have a good chance, but Northside isn't bad. We talked about Corner a lot so far. Corner at Oak Grove, 6-0 Corner, 4-2 Oak Grove.
If this was 2 weeks ago, I would be tempted to go Oak Grove, especially since it's a road trip for Corner, but Oak Grove's lost their last 2 games, got absolutely embarrassed by Haleyville. So I'm going to go with Corner here to win handily.
I worked with a guy who called some of these teams a pufferfish if they were had a good record and they really hadn't played anybody.
Right.
I wouldn't say Oak Grove is that. They've actually, this at 4-2 for Oak Grove is excellent.
It's a good record for them.
Yeah. But Corner, if they take care of business, should win this game. Should be 7-0. All right, a game I think you'll be at with the radio station this week. Brilliant 3-3 at Lynn 5-1.
Yeah, and it's going to be. I think Brilliant's going to show up, and I think they're going to fight. But by the time we get to the second, third quarter, I think Lynn's going to have it pretty much in hand. I got the Bears winning big.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it. It might be close for a quarter or so. Tittle and Crew will take over.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'll be one of those games where he won't probably play the fourth quarter, I hope. All right, so a team we talked about before also, Meek 3-3 at Shoals Christian 4-2.
Yeah, Shoals Christian, you might want to call them a pufferfish. I don't know. They've had somewhat of an easy schedule. They've beaten up on the lesser teams in that region. Yeah, and they had a tough fight with a couple of them. I think Cherokee nearly won that game against them.
That's not a good sign for them.
Yeah, so I got Meek winning here pretty handily.
Yeah, Meek's going to be probably fired up after losing last week. They go from 71 points one game, off week 0.
Nothing, yeah.
So, maybe get 71 again. All right, so this is a kind of a weird game. I remember last year, Tuscaloosa Academy, I never really heard of them, so I kept picking teams to beat them, and every time they would lose. So Tuscaloosa Academy 4-2 and Winston County 4-2. Boy, that's a big game in that region.
It is such a big game. It's at Winston County, too.
Mm-hmm.
This could decide. It could possibly decide, third and fourth, maybe second place for that region.
Yeah, it's what's crazy is Aliceville's having a really bad season. So you got to win games like this at home if you can.
Right.
Because you could lose to Alice. They have a really tough schedule the rest of the way, Winston County.
I know Winston County's really talented. We've been praising them, but I think Tuscaloosa Academy is just going to overpower the Yellow Jackets. I think it'll be a close game, though, but I've got Tuscaloosa Academy.
I do, too, and I hate that. Winston County had a guy. They just have guys step up, Nobody, you never know who it's going to be.
It could be Chris Clemens the first week.
Hurt. Yeah,
and then Rakeem Moore the next.
Yep. And last week it was Will Elliott who had 150 yards. So maybe they all have a good game, except for Clemens, who's not back yet. All right, so we both went Tuscaloosa Academy there. Haleyville at Curry, anything surprising on this one?
No, I think Haleyville's going to keep up with their winning ways. And Curry, the next 2 teams we've got on these don't have a win. Curry was fortunate enough to get their win last week against Vina. Curry's going to drop to 1-7 though.
Yeah, I'm glad they got their win. Winfield at Carbon Hill. Need we say more? Right?
Yeah, a rivalry game that's been really one-sided in recent years. The Pirates are going to roll here.
Hey, you know what though? Carbon Hill's going to beat them in other sports.
Yeah,
they're waiting for basketball.
Basketball, volleyball, softball.
Yes.
Maybe even baseball.
Right. Football, we're going to let them have their fun here, though.
Right.
Unfortunately. Yeah, Winfield. The usual Winfield has, I think, 1 loss to Gordo, and that's it this year. That might be it for the season. Hopefully, Oakman has something to say about that. So, and the last team we're going to mention is Sumiton Christian, which has fortunately had to forfeit some games here. I went a couple weeks ago, Talladega County Central, and I didn't realize how many of their kids were hurt. They were all hurt. Even the ones on the field were. Yeah, everybody was hurt. Kids on crutches.
They rumbled through it as long as they possibly could. You knew it was going to be a tough season, the numbers that they've had. But it's only going to get better from here, right?
I hope so, yes. And I hate that for like Jake White, the quarterback. Noah Godwin's a really good player.
They've got a lot of talent. The thing is, they just can't keep either the talented players healthy or the people around them healthy.
Yeah, it's not good. It's unfortunate you can't just send these players to another school, send them to Dora or something for the rest of the season because Jake White. And he takes more dirty hits than anybody I've seen. I've been to 2 games, and they did it both games. Yeah. But hopefully they'll get back on the field later this year. So they were supposed to play Marion County this week. All right, so the last game, which I did not put on. It seemed like I leave one off every week.
You do, every week.
Yeah. And you have to find it.
That's
so
true.
Every week,
it's trivia.
Which game do I leave off?
It keeps me on my toes.
Right. So it's Jasper at home against Carver, like we kind of said.
Yeah.
I thought Hayden. Now, before the season, yes.
Definitely. I was going to chalk this up as a win, too.
Winona was a win. Fairfield was a win. Maybe Sidney Lanier, but now here we are with a few games left, and they have a good chance here. Carver's not great. It's just going to take Jasper playing like they did for the last 5 minutes. Yeah. The whole game.
You say Carver is not great, but they're not bad either.
3-3.
You know, it's going to be a road trip. It's a big Birmingham area school, so 3-3 in the Birmingham area could be a 5-1. You know, when you're not in the big city playing against top-tier teams every week. I think they're going to beat Jasper, but because it's at home, I think Jasper's going to fight and keep it close, kind of like they've been doing.
I can see that. Maybe a touchdown or a 10-point game. Maybe as close as last week. One play is all they needed. All right, so we'll jump into the top 5 this week and what we think they'll be at the end of the year with just a few games go. Who's your number 5?
Yeah, number 5, I've got the Addison Bulldogs. They had a massive win against Meek last week in a big rivalry game, winning 12-0. And they have 2 losses right now. And I think that they're going to hold that form. I think they're going to finish the season 8-2.
And I agree wholeheartedly. But they still have Faultville, which could be tough. I think it's at home. But, I mean, when they beat Good Hope, that was impressive to me.
It was. That's when I thought, oh, my, this Addison team's like the Addison team of 3 or 4 years ago when they're wiping the field with everybody.
And if they had Hackleburg at home, I guarantee you they would have won that game.
I agree completely.
And it's hard to win over there, so they'll probably be second. What about your number 4?
Yeah, my number 4 is going to be Dora. They have 2 losses, and I think that they're probably going to win out. They could lose another game on down the schedule. It depends on how some of the teams around them do. But 8-2, 7-3 is where I see them finishing.
Yeah, I agree. That's my number 4 as well. This is probably exactly the same.
Yeah, it might be.
But yeah, I see Dora turning the page now, and hopefully they got it going. 8-2 would be better than last year.
They would.
All right, number 3.
Yeah, number 3, I've got Oakman that had a massive, massive win against Fayette County, and we don't want to see them have any fallback from it, some fallout. This week, I believe they're off. Are they?
They're off.
They are off. So yeah, they can.
Addison and Oakman are off.
Yeah, the last 2 teams we have before Curry. Curry gets the last week of the season off.
Yes.
They have 1 loss right now. Right now, I'm seeing them finish 7-3, but I can bump that up to an 8-2 if Winfield does not impress me against Carbon Hill this week.
Right, and I want to see. I'm really glad the game's at Oakman.
Right,
coming up. Hopefully, nobody gets hurt. Yep. Next week it gets scored up, so if they got the off week, enjoy this, Oakman. But we'll also have them, and I guess I would also go 7-3. Hopefully, it's 8-2. So your number 2?
Yeah, my number 2 is going to be the Fighting Lynn Bears. Their only loss on the season so far was down in Montgomery to Alabama Christian. And I don't think they're going to lose another game the rest of the way out. I think Lynn is set up to go 9-1 this season, have a really good chance at, you said before the season, making it to the semifinals. I said they could make it to Tuscaloosa, and that's definitely still within reach.
Yeah, I agree. Because Pickens usually is the team to jump.
Right.
Now it's going to be probably somebody else. Now they still have, I think they have Brilliant, Berry, and then South Lamar, and that could be a huge game.
South Lamar
that could be for the region.
Tough. It really could. It's going to be a tough game for both Lynn and South Lamar.
Well, it's 1A. You'll get teams pop up like that. Yeah, they're really good this year. Like kind of like Sulligent in 2A,
right.
Just popped up out of nowhere and they're undefeated. All right, so number 1.
Yeah,
we know who that is.
Yeah, it's going to be Corner, and the question now is Corner going to wind up going undefeated, or are they going to lose on down the line? That's such a tough question, but I'm going to say they go undefeated. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think
really
they beat Haleyville, they beat Oak Grove. We've got them going undefeated.
I'm going to say they go 9-1. They're also my number 1. I just say Haleyville on the road. That's going to be
really tough.
Really tough.
I agree with you there, but
And they beat them at corner last year. So maybe it's some payback this year, I hope. This is a different staff, you know. I mean, the different head coach, different players. It's not the same. So easily, I would love a 10-0.
I would too.
We haven't had many 10-0 teams come through here. Meek last year.
Yeah, last year, and it was the first time we'd seen a 10-0 in a good long while.
Now, 0-10, we're used to.
Right. Aw.
Going to see a couple of 0-10s probably.
Not
to say anything bad about those schools. I hope they win somehow. They still got chances. All right, so jump into college here. Alabama and Auburn. I didn't get to watch the Alabama game. I heard they won.
Shame on you.
I was on my way to the Braves game, which turned out to be a bust.
Hey,
I should have just watched TV.
Football's more important than baseball. You got to realize that. At least to me, it is because the Yankees didn't make the playoffs.
Yankees had, I want the Yankees in the playoffs. It's better to have somebody to root against.
Yeah. Oh,
right, Yankees.
Hey, the Braves made up for it last night, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. It's a great game. So we're tied. Hopefully, by the time you see this, they've already wrapped it up. But
you got your Braves cap on.
Yeah, always. I didn't wear this to the game, so they lost. It's my fault.
Yeah, next time you go to a Braves game,
it's my lucky Braves hat. Been doing it all year, and then I change it up. Can't do that.
Shame on you.
But Alabama, that was a close game. It was a fun game.
It was. Alabama did everything they could to let Texas A&M win.
A lot of penalties.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, 14 penalties, 9 false starts.
How does that happen? How's that happen to Alabama?
How do you win a game when you do that on the road?
That's high school stuff.
It
and
is.
I bet he was about to blow a fuse. Probably a lot of Alabama fans were.
Oh, yeah.
But they won the game.
Had 26-20. Nearly pulled to Miami because if you didn't see it, Miami, they could have taken a knee and won their game Saturday night. But instead, they decided to run it, turn it over, touchdown, Georgia Tech, game over. Miami loses.
Never seen anything like that.
Alabama nearly did that by deciding to throw a pass to nobody in particular when you've already got the game wrapped up.
Was it intercepted?
No, it was incomplete. It fell incomplete. But fortunately, it did force Alabama to run one of those weird plays on 4th down with 7 seconds left.
Oh, run the clock.
You run around, then finally throw a pass as high and far as you can.
Perfect. Yeah, that was a big win because a lot of people had them losing that game. Now, Alabama, I guess you'll be there in the early hours Saturday.
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. kick. Their homecoming parade in Tuscaloosa is at 7 a.m.
Will you be there for that?
No.
That's a little bit too early.
But yeah, I might get some of the traffic from that. Unfortunately,
it's yeah. The bad thing about these early games is traffic. Really, when you think about it, because everybody's going at the same time.
At least after the game, I can come home and watch LSU Auburn, and
that is true. You have the whole day left.
Yeah,
you can go to the Winston County volleyball tournament.
That's true. You can do that.
All right, so Auburn's off this week. I mean, well. That was last week. Now they're actually not off. They have LSU, and that's going to be
Death Valley,
a night game at LSU.
Death Valley at night.
What if it was a day game at Auburn? Who would you take in this game?
Ooh, if it was a day game at Auburn, I'd probably still take LSU, and that's giving away the pick for later.
Oh yeah, we want to talk about that. Yeah, that's coming up. But LSU, really good offense, really really bad defense. I don't think Auburn has enough offense. That's their problem. So. I don't know. This will probably be kind of an uglier top score. Whereas kind of Georgia kind of fit into what Auburn was doing. This doesn't fit into what Auburn's good at. All right. So, let's jump to you got some games to pick this week?
I've got 5. Only 5, but they're all important. First game I've got Texas A&M going to Rocky Top to take on Tennessee. Tennessee's a narrow favorite. Do you see A&M pulling an upset, or does the loss last week demoralize them into the Volunteers' role?
Yeah, it's good. Tennessee's not great. Kind of been disappointing. They only have one loss, but I can see that being really, really close. But I would take Tennessee probably by about 10 points. Maybe score late and put it away.
I agree with you. 1 possession, 10 points. Like you said, I completely agree with you there, which is kind of scary. Next game is a massive one. USC taking a road trip to Notre Dame. Notre Dame has always fallen apart in big games. It happened last week against Louisville. 3 weeks ago against Ohio State on the last play of the game. Does Notre Dame finally break the curse and beat a USC team whose defense has been completely non-existent all season long?
I actually took Notre Dame, and I usually don't do that. I just been that unimpressed with USC. Triple overtime last week.
To beat Arizona.
I mean, yeah, they're winning these games, and Notre Dame's not great, but they're pretty good. So I did take Notre Dame. It's going to be super close.
Yeah, for all that and more, that's why I have Notre Dame as well.
Wow.
USC, this might be what snaps them back into place. Before the season, I said I thought USC would make the playoffs as a one-loss conference champion, and they can still do that. And I think this is what it's going to take to snap them back into playoff contender mode. They've got the best player in the country on the field in Caleb Williams, and if it weren't for him, they'd probably be about 2-4 right now.
That is correct. Sometimes one player can do that much.
It can, really can. That's something you see in 1A football.
Yes,
but
one player can do everything.
It works in college football too. All right, next game is another massive, massive game in the Pac-12. Oregon taking a road trip up to Seattle to play Washington. Do the Huskies win or the Ducks win? Of course, Oregon has former Auburn quarterback Bo Nix.
Yeah, it's really tough for me to root for. I mean, it's not his fault. He did what he should have done.
He made the right decision.
He made the right decision, and you can't say anything else about that. And Washington, golly, that's a really, really tough game at Washington. But I'm going Oregon. I believe in Bo Nix here.
So am I. Everybody's praising Washington, saying, "Oh, this is the best team in the country. They're so good." Nobody's talking about Oregon.
No.
And Oregon has looked better than anybody in that Pac-12. They've looked better than USC. They've looked better than Washington. And it's Oregon's time to shine, and I think Oregon is going to win this game by about 10 points, maybe 2 touchdowns.
And it's weird that Washington's ranked in front of them.
They are.
Washington's getting a lot of love this year. They are good. Pac-12 is actually really good at the top.
Yeah. Their last season before they kind of dispersed the talent.
Yep.
Their talent is going to every other Power 5 conference except the SEC.
We don't know that. Maybe Washington
that's true.
State will
Washington
come to
State,
the SEC.
Two of the best teams.
Welcome them in, right?
Hey, two of the best teams in the Pac-12.
Oregon State.
Pac-12. Yeah, Washington State and Oregon State. They're not getting any love. Nobody wants them to join their conference.
The two best teams, and they have no conference. Was that you got any more games?
I've got 2 more.
Oh, yeah.
There are local games,
of
course.
State teams,
of course, I had
UAB,
to do this.
Yeah.
You wanted South Alabama on there last week.
Yeah, and they won big.
Oof,
Take that, Terry Bowden.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
55-14. We're getting off subject here.
Yes, we are. A little bit.
You brought this up earlier, and I'm sure I know who you're picking. Arkansas, Alabama. We know who both of us are picking.
Arkansas, obviously.
Wow. All right. I'm down. I know you're aggravated. What do you think the final score is going to be? That's the more important question.
That's going to be 42-21, maybe. Double them up.
I don't think Arkansas's offense can put up 21.
That would be a lot for them.
I think the score is going to be like 31-3. 31-3, maybe 31-0. I don't see Alabama scoring too much, but I don't think they need to.
Arkansas will not. Their offense. They're really bad. I thought they would be better this year.
I did too. I thought this was going to be their year to, maybe upset a couple of teams because they have KJ Jefferson coming back, Rocket Sanders coming back, almost everybody.
God, there was so much talk about the quarterback. And here you can't even,
It's all falling apart. It's all completely falling apart for Arkansas. All right, last game, we touched on it as well earlier. Auburn going into Death Valley as 11-point underdogs. Who are you picking, and what do you think the final score?
Last time they went there, Harskin led this team to a victory. Auburn beat them, and it ended the streak.
But that was all Bo Nix right there. That was completely Bo Nix 2 years ago.
Oh, so yeah. And now here we are, and that's probably not going to happen because their defense is good, but Auburn's offense, that's where you're going to have to beat LSU. Like Ole Miss did. You just keep scoring.
Right.
Score. And Missouri kept it up for a while until the end it kind of fizzled out. They really had I thought they were going to win that game. They had the ball, and LSU finally came up big at the end there. I just don't think Auburn has the offense to keep up with them. And their defense, they're going to need a bunch of turnovers.
They will.
So 5 turnovers, absolutely Auburn wins. But everything chalk like it is, I would probably say LSU by 2 touchdowns.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think Auburn's going to come in there, and I think they're going to fight really hard. But in the end, I do think LSU's going to win this battle of Tigers by a field goal.
Wow, I will take that.
I think it's going to be a really good game. Now, here's the question. Would you take a Hugh Freeze team, a Hugh Freeze at Auburn without Bo Nix, or Brian Harsin at Auburn with Bo Nix?
Oh, the coach, because it matters.
Okay, that's all I want.
I mean, Bo Nix was running for his life.
That's true.
Running for his life.
Now at Oregon, he's actually got an offensive line.
Yes.
Not
it's
as
got to be neat for him for 2 years now to have an actually line in front of him.
Yeah, now that he's actually got to practice.
We can actually see what he can do.
Yeah, now that he's got to practice and he can find out what he can actually do with an offensive line. Yeah. I don't know if he needs one now. He's gotten so good at it.
He was so messed up that, he was just messed up from running. So he'd just take the snap, but Auburn just take off running because he was getting used to being chased all the time. But, yeah, I do wish he was in this system. It would be perfect. But they made a mistake on the hire, so here we are with Peyton Thorne back there. Yeah. Maybe we'll have a good game. I like that they changed things last week, and hopefully they can do that again.
That's all I got. So.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. All 5.
Got some big games this week. So good luck to our high school teams. I know it's been a long season for some of them. Hopefully Oakman, Dora, well, Oakman's off. Dorn, Corner, Lynn, keep it going.
Right.
All right, so thanks for joining us. If you like the show, subscribe and like it on YouTube. And thanks for Jake for producing. And let's talk about Bevill State for a minute, our sponsor. I was like, they got a new gym coming up.
That's true. They have it. It's going to be not this season, but next season they're going to be able to use it for basketball here in Jasper. So they've kind of dispersed the games from here and there in terms of Bevill State's men's basketball program. But it's going to be really nice when they really get a professional gym in.
Yeah, it's going in the right direction with a new softball field in Sumiton and this new arena. And good grief, do they need that? That's going to be really nice. All right, so thanks to Bevill State as well, and we'll see you next week.
Bevill State
is your community college
for
convenient and affordable academic transfer options,
rewarding health science programs, high wage, high demand career tech training.
Your story starts at Bevill State.